Hello. Um, so I'm here to tell a story. And first disclaimer is I do talk about bodily functions, um, not in a gross way. Um, and but it's very important to the story. And I'm also going to uh, say that by what I'm talking about, I by no means am saying for whatever disorder or disease you have, um, take matters into your own hands without getting the advice of a physician. Um, but this story is about those times when doctors apparently don't know a whole lot about what could be going wrong with you. And sometimes it's up to you to stumble upon the right diagnosis and treatment. So, here is the story. I've had problems with constipation since I was a little kid. Um, and then it was constipation alternating with diarrhea. And these last, say, 5 years have been really, really, really tough because it's just like everything stopped functioning. It's like I could not feel any movement in my gut whatsoever. And when things don't move along and they stay in one place, they lose water, fluids, and become hard. And anyway, so it was probably actually 10 years, really, when my journey to go regularly like everybody else started. And I went to primary physician first, saw the first GI consultant, and had a colonoscopy and had a CT scan of the abdomen. They said, that okay, you're full of poo. The first person said it was my medication that I was on, and it's medication I can't go off of, so you need to start this Miralax, which is technically a stool softener to pulse fluid in. And so that was the first determination, was that it was my medication. I get to the GI doctor, and he says it's irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, IBS-C, with primarily constipation as the symptom, and prescribes me a medication called Amitiza. And I only remember a GI doctor prescribing it. I don't remember being on it. And it turns out, when you look back on my record, they looked and said I had it filled once and that's it. So, anyway, they start me on Linzess. And I tried working with Linzess about 3 times. And it is technically also a stool softener, pulling fluid into the colon the problem that I had with it was that that first week was pretty great, and then by week and a half it wasn't doing anything for me. And and then at 2 weeks I would get diarrhea so bad and so unexpected I couldn't go anywhere, but I had a job I had to be at. And more than once I found myself in the bathroom with dirty clothes. And luckily we live 5 minutes away, and my mom had to bring me clean clothes. Okay, so I'm not a fan of this medication. It's Linzess. It shows up later in my story. Um, so I would do the fiber and bran and everything to not have to use this Linzess, and I know that it's dangerous to use the stimulant laxatives like Docalax and stuff, X-Lax, because your muscles and your intestines and stuff can be so dependent on it, they forget how to work. It's a bad thing. And so I'm fighting with this, and it's expensive. I'm fighting with this Linzess dosages, and do I take Miralax while I'm taking, and I'm trying to get what other people are doing with this. At some point in here, I'm told it's something called CIC, which is chronic idiopathic constipation. The word idiopathic means we don't know why. So that was the third. Oh, wait, that's number 4, because before then I had a hysterectomy for endometriosis and was told that sometimes endometrial tissue will attach itself to the colon and the rectum and cause problems like constipation. And so that was what the OBGYN told me. But now I'm down the road to CIC. And I'm struggling, and I have been feeling poorly. Not just constipation, but the bloating. I looked like I had triplets in there. And everything just wasn't, there was nothing moving. And I would get hungry, as in my blood sugar would drop. I wouldn't get hungry in my stomach, though. And I would eat something, but there just wasn't anywhere for it to go. I was full from top to bottom. And so then I would have gastric reflux from the pressure also of a distended abdomen. And and pressure down below for gas that can't come out. I was miserable, and I was depressed, and I was starting to get because I'm being told that I have this problem that will never be fixed, that will always be, things will always be this way, and I'm self-conscious. People ask me if I'm pregnant, with a confused look on their face. and I just physically felt unwell. No energy, and half was depression and half was not. Half was like, I feel depressed because I don't feel like doing anything or being anybody, and I'm just forcing myself through the days. And I know it's not my moods, my bipolar. Oops, sorry. So I know it's not that. I know I'm depressed because of this physical thing. And so, um, my clothes, I have all these clothes that I couldn't wear because they didn't fit, even though they should have, but because of this distension that I had. Um, anyway, so I move on to, I think I talked about the second GI doctor. um, well, if I had another CT, which again said I had retained stool, and and I'm supposed to have a colonoscopy, which you normally do at my age. So, um, so my primary physician is calling this the chronic idiopathic constipation as I head in to see another GI specialist, and he was horrible. As a doctor, he was horrible. Um, he was just like, well, there's nothing I can do for you. I'm like, I've tried Linzess, and um, he said, well, there's normally, he said, how many weeks did you take it before you stopped because of the diarrhea? And I said, well, 2 weeks about. He said, well, it takes at least 3 weeks of diarrhea for your body to get used to the medication. I'm like, I don't think you understand. I would have to be sitting on the toilet the whole time. There's no warning. It's not like I don't get there in time. I mean, it is just out before I know what happened. And um and he's like, "Well, I don't know what to tell you. I can't. There's nothing I can do for you. Um, how's your diet? How's your water intake?" And he's like, "It's not like there's some surgery or something I can do for you." Um, and we talked about the Amatiza, and I said, "I don't know why I didn't get it filled." And then he said, "Well, it's no." And then I found out the reason why was that um, it was not covered by my insurance, and I had to get special permission, and this was just recently. And when I went to pick it up, they're like, it's going to be $250, and um, that's with the insurance part that they were willing to pay. And I have other meds I need to be taking. I don't have $250 a month to pay for this medication. And it basically does the same thing as the Linzess. It is a stool softener that pulls water into the colon. So I'm like, forget it. And he was just like telling me that I was gonna have to live with at least, he's like, well, there's one more option. It's something called motegrity, and this actually works on the muscles, he said, in your colon. And he said what it sounds like to me that you have is um, slow transit. Doesn't matter because that's, anyway, he said something completely different, which is when the nerves and neurotransmitters in your colon aren't functioning right, and they don't get the message to move. And he said that's what it sounds like. And the medication that would be best for that is something called motegrity. But your insurance doesn't cover motegrity. And, um, I'm getting really upset. I'm crying by now because he's saying, well, you're just going to have to, don't use the laxatives but if, use an enema to clear your, it was just horrible conversation to have, and he wasn't helping me any. And the Motegrity, he said, we'll look into getting a coupon, a special coupon or something. And then I went to, they said to go to their website, and they have this thing that you can fill in and you can get it to like $15 a month. And I was like, oh, okay. So I go in, I'm looking at the website, and I hate going on new meds because I never know what they're going to do to me. And and I look at the site, and I look at the side effects. It says side effects. And let me try to get my camera so I can read it to you. The side effects were it was quite scary when I read them here. Here it comes. Okay. Sorry, little technical thing here. It's slow transit constipation and IBS. That's not what I was looking for, though. Here it is. So the side effects, before they even list the side effects, they tell you something that's quite scary. And so I am not even gonna try it because it says, oh God, I hate the internet now with all the ads. It says, before taking Motegrity, tell your healthcare provider about all of your medical conditions, including if you have or had depression, suicidal thoughts or actions, or mood problems. Possible side effects: unusual changes in mood or behavior, thoughts of hurting yourself, trying to hurt yourself, or suicide. Stop taking Motegrity right away and tell your HCP immediately if your depression gets worse, you feel sad, hopeless, or begin to have thoughts of suicide, thoughts of hurting yourself, or you have tried to hurt yourself, or if you develop new depression. So, they didn't even mention this to me in the meeting, the visit. and that's like probably the first thing that's listed is my bipolar disorder. So I was glad I saw it, because I'm not going to try it because we're talking about life and death here. They may want to consult my psychiatric team first. So anyway, I decide to finally, I first was looking up this slow transit constipation, and somehow I got to gluten, and they're not the same thing, but that's just where the rabbit, I went down the rabbit hole and came to gluten, and I saw that gluten can, a symptom of gluten intolerance can be constipation. And I have nothing to lose. So I go no gluten. And third to fourth day, I started having bowel movements normally right away. And third to fourth day, the distension and my mood and my energy level just like went way high, way high. And my mom's all being super duper supportive. She's with me at the store. We're picking out gluten stuff, no gluten stuff. And she's already got recipes lined up. And it's expensive to be on a gluten-free diet. But I'm a week in, and it's kind of a bummer because I'm craving donuts, like cakey donuts. I don't like fatty, like fried donuts. I like cakey donuts, and I also cut out carbonation. So far, and every day after I eat, I feel everything moving along, gurgling down there, gases coming out. I'm sorry, excuse me if you're sensitive to that, but if you have been through what I have been through, you you will appreciate what I'm talking about, and I'm gonna, before I am going to say definite for sure that this is the issue, I'm gonna give it a month. Like I said, it's limited on what you can eat, and the foods are like, there's this gluten-free bread, which at first, the first couple of days it feels rubbery, but and I feel like my options are limited, so I feel like I'm eating the same thing every day, but I don't care. I'll say no. I'm happy to say no, and I'm happy to also, carbonation, eat smaller meals, which is what I wanted to do anyway. But I haven't been using the Miralax, which I used to have to take the powder every day. While I started the gluten diet, I was taking it every day. This stool softener, that's the powder that pulls water into your colon, and I started to get a little diarrhea. So I stopped taking it. I take some flaxseed and oatmeal, and I'm trying to keep the dairy to a minimum because I am lactose intolerant. But I didn't use a whole lot of dairy in the first place. Just trying the cheese is where we eat a lot of dishes with cheese, so that is difficult. When like I love Alfredo, chicken Alfredo, but I am happy to say no to everything and eat the same thing every day that I am eating. I ate a little too much. at dinner. But I'm not distended. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I judge how distended I am by how far I can. Is it soft? Is it, like right after I eat it? Yeah, I'll have like a little what you call food baby. But it goes down and I feel everything moving. So, and it goes down, and so, like, probably like normal people. So, how long have let's just say all along it's been wheat. And why did no medical professional that I saw think of this possibility? I mean, no, I don't have celiac disease, and they're like allergic to it. And there's this gray area of gluten intolerance. But have had, I'm just so happy. I am just so happy, and I'm just praying that this continues, and to work. So that is my story. The emphasis should not be on my bathroom habits, but that if you ever feel like just like something is off, like a doctor is saying you have this, and it just doesn't feel right, it just doesn't jive, and you're like, they don't know either. I can tell that they don't know what to do with me. And so they're trying to make me go away, and I'm pressing them for a solution. And this is the office that I went to. In the previous video, I mentioned how I went and they did my blood pressure and my pulse, and they did weigh me on the way in. And but then, like, the tech or nurse was going through the, is your name this, still this, and you still live there. And then all of that stuff was over, and she said, do you have a history of mental illness or mental health problems? I think she said mental illness, depression, anxiety. I said, well, bipolar disorder, it should be right there in my record. And then she didn't ask me anything else, nothing about my heart. Do you have any history of heart disease, history of diabetes, history of high blood pressure? Nothing, just about my mental health. And I'm going to a GI doctor, and I thought that was very odd. And she was also the one that, I said bipolar disorder, it's well controlled, and she said, she took the cuff off, the blood pressure cuff, and said it must be well controlled, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to tell. Like, you can tell someone has bipolar disorder by them walking in a room and sitting down. And so and even though he didn't say it, I knew that he was blowing me off because of the bipolar disorder. And someone even told me, she's a nurse, she said that she doesn't divulge to the medical professionals that she's got psychiatric disorder for that very reason. because of how you tend to be treated in the medical world. You know, I'm sure that my primary thinks I'm the crazy lady that won't leave her alone about my bowel movements. I'm changing doctors. I'm going to have to go 30 minutes away, but I don't care. I had to have my mother come with me to an appointment to that doctor about this problem because I said, Mom, will you come with me? She blows me off whenever I go there, and if somebody else is there, she won't do that. And sure enough, my mom came, and she acted completely different. The doctor acted completely differently than when my mom went with me. She was just all business and seriousness, and let's get this taken care of. We need to get you to have a CT scan and a colonoscopy and see a GI doctor. And where in the past, when I went alone, she couldn't get out of the room fast enough. So, yet another doctor I have fired. So, even if it isn't gluten, it's just coincidence. She's out of there. Nope. Used to like her, but it's when they can't figure out the problem, they put it in your lap instead of working on it themselves and finding out what is wrong. I don't know if they don't have time or what, but they just shoving it back into your lap. Well, you're just going to have to do this and that. And when, instead of actually investigating the problem. And so, there's my story. Anytime, stop and pause anytime it feels like a health professional is putting something into your lap, leaving it for you to flail around with, frustrated because you don't have that knowledge. You can't trust. The thing is though, the answer is not always on the internet, because a lot of times there's bad information on the internet. But in this case, it was very, very helpful and successful that I just started out looking at what I was told I had, and come to find out, it seems like I don't have that. So just, if it ever feels that way, just pause and think about it. Take some time to think about it. Do your research. Get a second opinion. So, that's that. And I don't know if I was at the dentist and this side of my face is still a little swollen. So that's what that's about. So that is my story. I'll talk to you guys later.